All right, so I am generally uncomfortable disagreeing with people who are smarter than me, and I am always uncomfortable disagreeing with people who are a lot stronger than me. So a few days ago, a good friend of mine, Nick Doelman, fellow MVP, dropped a video talking about his experience with vibe coding and how he believes this signals the end of low code as we've known it. Now, I'm uncomfortable disagreeing with Nick because he's the nicest guy in the world, but he's also a power lifter for Canada, and I literally joined the gym yesterday, so I think we know who's going to win that arm wrestling match. And in all candor, I have struggled personally with the things that Nick was talking about, because ever since Clive Aldridge dropped the mic at Power Platform Bootcamp in February, I've been wrestling with what does this mean for the future of low code. That being said, I believe Nick is fundamentally asking the wrong question in his video. Vibe coding doesn't mean we should be asking about the death of low code. Rather, we should be asking what vibe coding means for coding overall. So let's take a quick detour through the history of coding, and then we'll get to the question that I believe Nick should be asking when it comes to vibe coding. All right, so firstly, what is coding? What is code? Well, believe it or not, pro code as we know it, JavaScript, C#, was invented to be a low-code tool so that developers could build software faster and more complex than before. Mind-blowing, right? I know, but that's literally why it was created. You see, the code that machines run is known as binary. It's ones and zeros. And prior to the invention of pro code, if you program computers, you had to assemble ones and zeros. It was a laborious, time-consuming process. Pro code came along and we could start to bring in predefined functions, rearrange them, recompile them, create new ones to create complex software faster than ever before. This should start to sound really familiar because this is basically the low code story. It's the exact same thing. Low code and pro code are two sides of the same exact coin. The only difference in the low code world is that we're using things like WYSIWYGs and Excel-like languages in PowerFX to ultimately compile to the code that runs in Power Apps and Power Automate. That's all that's going on. All right, so that's code. What about vibe coding? Well, vibe coding is this idea that I can use the power of an LLM to enter natural language and get code. This is what you do in GitHub Copilot. It's pretty cool. Anybody can do it. Even no coders like myself can do this. I've done this. It's pretty cool. All right. So what does this mean for the future? Well, again, it's really hard to understand why we need WYSIWYGs and Excel-like languages when we can go from natural language to code. But the question I think we really need to be asking is, why do we need traditional code as we've known it? Because we can go directly from natural language in GitHub Copilot to binary. Mind-blowing, right? But you can. I literally did it this morning. I said, give me a regex to format phone numbers in ISO format and give me the binary, and it did that. So I've literally got the code that my machine can run directly. I don't need to compile. I don't need to go from natural language to pro code and then compile it into something the machine can run. I can go directly to what the machine can run. All right, this means we can code even more efficiently than before. So that's the first interesting question. The second interesting question that we need to ask is, what does this mean for these abstraction layers that we create around the binary? Because we still need something, right? We need something that is human readable, that humans can look at to troubleshoot, to debug, that solution architects can review and say, here's what this code is doing. They don't want to comb through all the ones and zeros. They want to be able to look at something more human readable. But it's green fields, right? This is brand new. We don't necessarily need pro code as we've known it, C# and JavaScript. We could use something entirely new. Now, I can make a very strong case for why PowerFX would be the ideal abstraction layer for this new world. I'll do that in a separate video in the coming weeks. But literally, we could invent anything we want. We don't necessarily need to use pro code tools as we've known them. So that's why I think that Nick is fundamentally asking the wrong question. He's on the right track in terms of, why do we need low code in a world where we can go from natural language? But the more interesting question is, why do we need pro code at all, and what replaces it? All right, that's it from me. Go do something awesome on the Power Platform today, and I'll talk to you all soon.